Okay, here you can see the properties of crystalline solid. As we have discussed, the first basic property of crystalline solid, that is their geometric shape. Crystalline solids having a geometric shape, all the crystalline solids have definite, distinctive geometrical shape due to definite and orderly arrangement of their atoms, ions, molecules. In a crystalline solids, all the atoms, ions, and molecules are arranged in a specific order. So if you are making any crystal at a high temperature or at a low temperature, evaporating their solvents while making the crystals, there is just little bit difference of the length. Here you can see the crystal of this same compound that is little bit longer. That is due to the condition, the temperature that you have increased or decreased, but all the interfacial angles in both the crystals remains same. Their angles will not change when you are making the crystal if the crystal is very pure. So crystalline solid having a very effective property that they have geometric shape. Their geometry, their angles, their lengths of the sides will not change, that they remains same. Next property we discussed was the definite melting point. As we know, all the crystalline solid have very sharp melting point. For example, sodium chloride having a melting point 801 degrees Celsius. So if you observe this temperature while you are melting any solid, and you have no idea about that the solid is sodium chloride, but by the sharp melting point, this value of melting point, you are able to identify that this is a sodium chloride. If you observe there is 802 degrees Celsius melting point, then it's not a sodium chloride. As I'm saying, crystalline solids, for example, sodium chloride, having a very sharp melting point, having a very fixed value, that is 801 degrees Celsius. If you just change one digit below or higher, then that will be the melting point of another crystalline solid, not for sodium chloride. So this is the second property of crystalline solids, that they have definite melting points. Next property we are going to discuss is cleavage planes. Crystalline solids having a cleavage planes. What is the cleavage plane? Cleavage plane is basically the weakest area where you can cleave, where you can break your crystal. You are not able to break the crystal from any point. Here you can see, for example, if this is a crystalline solid, this plane is considered as a cleavage plane. If you are going to try to break this crystalline solid from this side, you cannot, because this is not a weakest point for this crystalline solid. So crystalline solids arrangement is very specific, and while you are trying to break the crystals, you you can only break from any specific point, that is the weakest point where crystal is able to be cutted. You cannot break this crystal from any point, like you are trying to break this from this point, then cannot, because cleavage planes are weakest plane. Only from those weakest planes you can break the crystals. Only crystalline solids, only not amorphous solids, you can break amorphous solids from any point. Only crystalline solids having a cleavage plane, specific cleavage planes, weakest planes, where those crystals easily break. A crystalline cleavage plane is basically an anisotropic property. I'm going to discuss with you what is anisotropic property and isotropic property. Anisotropic and isotropic property. Anisotropic property is basically direction dependent, and isotropic property is basically direction independent property. So cleavage, you can say, is direction dependent. At specific direction, at specific point, you are able to break this. So that's why cleavage is considered as an isotropic property. Isotropic property do not depend on the direction. You can clave, break, or do any of other physical properties with those solids, those are not direction dependent. For example, melting point. Melting point is basically that physical property that is not direction dependent. If you are melting any substance, that will melt at fixed melting point, like sodium chloride that melt at 801 degrees Celsius. So that is basically that is basically isotropic property, because if the solid is amorphous, if the solid is crystalline, it will be melt. It do not depend on the direction. Anisotropic property is very fixed property, that direction is very important. For example, here I am drawing the rough sketch of graphite. Graphite is electricity conductor, as you know this. Graphite having like this structure, layer of graphite atoms, then free electrons, then again there is the layer of graphite atoms, and then again free electrons. So if you are trying to conduct the electricity from this point, electricity will not be conducted, because here you can say the hard layer of the atoms of graphite. But when you are trying to conduct the electricity from this side, here you can see there are free electrons. If you are conducting electricity parallel to the electrons in this horizontal row, you are able to conduct the electricity. So conducting electricity in graphite is an isotropic property, which means conduction of electricity in graphite is direction dependent. Here you can see some other examples of anisotropic properties. Thermal and electrical conductivity, coefficient of thermal expansion is also an isotropic property, and refractive index, when you are discussing or calculating the refraction of the light, you are calculating refractive index, then that refractive index is also an isotropic property, which means direction dependent. If you are changing the direction, then there is change in refraction of a light. Next, we will see, okay, here you can see the particles. To better understand anisotropy, in a crystalline solids, particles are arranged in this manner. For example, one type of particles, another type of particles. So if you are trying to conduct or to do any physical properties in this direction, you can see there is different particles. The black colors dots, and then you can see the blue, which shows the different particles. So this direction having alternate particle, those are different, and in this direction you can see same type of particle. Due to the arrangement of the particle in a crystalline solid, anisotropy is observed. Next, we having a property of crystalline solid, that is symmetry. What is symmetry? When you are rotating your crystal at 360 degree, when you are rotating your crystal as 360 degree, all its angles, all its faces, and all its edges will remain same or will repeat it. Here you can see crystal. If you are rotating this crystal from here at 360 degree, then after rotating it, it's all faces, it's all angles, and all the edges of this solid will remain same, will be repeated. So that proves that crystalline solid having a symmetry. If any kind of a solid having a symmetry, you can say that that is crystalline solid, because crystalline solid having this property that they show symmetry. In exam, mostly this question is asked that how many elements of symmetry are. So you must know this, that there are 4 elements of symmetry: center of symmetry, axis of symmetry, plane of symmetry and angle of symmetry. One by one, see what is center of symmetry. In this crystalline solid, in this cube, you can see that this is the center. This center is the symmetry. So this is called as the center of symmetry. Second is axis of symmetry. This is the axis of symmetry for this crystalline solid. Third one is plane of symmetry. Here you can see the dotted line in the center. This is the plane of symmetry for this crystalline solid. And the last one is angle of symmetry. You say angle of symmetry form at this top point here. While you are rotating from this point, this is called as the angle of symmetry. So these four elements of symmetry are observed in crystalline solids. Next property is habit of crystal. What is habit of crystal? The shape of crystal in which it usually grows is called as habit of crystal, because all the crystalline solid having a specific crystalline shape in a specific condition. While you are changing the condition, the shape of the crystal will change. But in a pure form, crystals having a specific shape, crystals grow in a specific form. Crystals are usually obtained by cooling the saturated solution or by slow cooling of the liquid substances. So these are formed by growing in various conditions. While you are changing conditions in which you are maintaining the crystal, then the shape of the crystal will change. So it is very important that when you are forming the crystals of a solid, the conditions remain same. Here you can see the crystal of NaCl, that is cubic crystal in a cube form. If you add some impurities, 10% impurities of urea in this sodium chloride, so due to these impurities, you can see the shape of the crystal will change. So impurities change the habit of the crystal. All the crystal having a specific habit, they grow in a specific manner, they grow in a specific shape. But while you are adding some impurities, for example, you are adding urea, the shape of the crystal will change from cube to octahedral. Before adding the impurity, the shape of the crystals of sodium chloride is cubic. While you are adding impurity, for example, adding urea in it, the shape of the crystal is changed as octahedral. So crystalline solid having a habit of crystal, they will grow in a specific shape. Next property is isomorphism. This property is very important, and most of the short questions you can see in your exams from this topic. Isomorphism. What is isomorphism? What is isomorphism? Isomorphism is the phenomena in which two different substances exist in the same crystalline form, because iso means same, morph means shape, and ism means system. So isomorphism is the phenomena in which two different substances exist in same crystalline form. Here you can see the example, you will better understand this concept, what I am saying. Sodium fluoride, magnesium oxide. These two compounds having same crystals, having same cubic crystals. Sodium fluoride and magnesium oxide form cube-shaped crystals. These two compounds, those are forming same type of crystals, are called isomorphs. And the forms are called as isomorphic form. These two are named as isomorphs of each other, and the forms are called as isomorphic form. Isomorphic forms. In the second example, you can see potassium sulfate, potassium chromate. Potassium sulfate and potassium chromate are isomorphs of each other because they both form orthorhombic crystals. In our next lecture, we will discuss about the 7 systems of a crystal: cubic crystal, orthorhombic crystal, tetrahedral, hexagonal, trigonal, rhombohedral. So those 7 systems of crystal we will discuss in our next lecture. Today we are just discussing that isomorphism is basically the different compounds forming same type of crystals. Potassium sulfate, potassium chromate, both are called as isomorphs. Forms are isomorphic form. Why isomorphism observed in the different compounds? Why different compounds showing the same, forming the same type of crystals? How you can say this, that these both having the same isomorphism? Because both having same atomic ratio. You can see sodium 1 atom, fluorine 1 atom. Ratio is 1:1. Magnesium 1 atom, oxygen 1 atom. The ratio is 1:1. So both the compounds, both the crystalline solids having same atomic ratio. That's why they are forming same type of crystals, cubic crystals. In a second example, you can see potassium having 2 atoms, 1 atom of sulfur and 4 atoms of oxygen. 4 atoms of oxygen. So ratio is 2:1:4. In a second one, potassium chromate, 2 atoms of potassium, 1 atom of chromium and 4 atoms of oxygen. So the ratio is, in both the compound, the ratio is same, 2:1:4. That's why these both compounds show orthorhombic crystal system. Orthorhombic, both having same type of crystals. That's why they are called as isomorphs of each other. So the whole concept of isomorphism is the different crystalline solid having same type of crystals, like sodium fluoride, magnesium oxide, potassium sulfate, potassium chromate. Another example is sodium nitrate, potassium nitrate. These both form same type of crystals, rhombohedral. So when different compounds forming same type of crystals, those compounds are called as isomorphs, and the phenomena is called as isomorphism. There are some similarities and dissimilarities in isomorphism. Let's see. Similarities of isomorphs. Isomorphs having same crystalline shape because having same atomic ratio, and isomorphs having same shape of their anions. In potassium sulfate and in potassium chromate, these both anions are those having a negative charge. These both having -2 charge. So anions of both the compounds having same shape. If you are going to draw the shape of the sulfate and the shape of the chromate, here I am drawing C, shape of the sulfate. This is the anion. Here you can see shape of the sulfate. Now I am drawing the shape of the chromate. Both of the anions having same shape. Due to same shape, they having a similarity. They having the same crystal formation. Here you can see both the anions of the compounds having same shape. Sulfate and chromate having same structure. These are called as anion. Anions having negative charge. Anions are those that move towards the anode. So both having same shape. Both having same shape. These are the similarities in isomorph. Now let's see what is the dissimilarities between these isomorphism. In both the isomers having different physical and chemical property. They're having the same crystal, same shape, but both are different compounds. So due to their different compounds, they show different physical and chemical properties, different melting points, different their boiling points, different chemical properties. When they are reacting with any other substance, they will show different reaction. So physical properties are basically depend on the molar masses. Physical properties depend on the molar masses. So both the isomers having different molar masses because they're having different atoms, and different atoms having different atomic masses, and both the isomers having different chemical properties, because chemical properties depend on the electronic configuration. While you are doing the electronic configuration of these compound, you will observe that both having different electronic configuration. The number of electrons that are existing in the outermost shell, that is responsible for the chemical reaction, and that those are responsible to take a part in a chemical reaction. So isomorphs having different physical and chemical properties. Isomorphism is a phenomena that not only observed in compounds, you can observe this phenomena also in elements. Here is the example of copper and silver. These both compounds show cubic crystal. These both are called as isomorphs of each other. So isomorphism is not only the phenomena for compound, it is also for elements, and copper and silver is the example. Here you can see both form cubic crystal. Another example for isomorphs of elements is zinc and cadmium. These two elements are also called as isomorphs of each other because they both form hexagonal crystalline form. This both having hexagonal crystalline form. Next, we are moving towards polymorphism. What is polymorphism? Poly means many, morph means shape, and ism means system. So which shows that compound exists in more than one crystalline form is called polymorphism. While one compound existing in more than one crystalline form, then we are saying that this is polymorph. This is the phenomena that is polymorphism. And both the crystalline form are called as polymorphic forms. While we are discussing isomorphism, both the compounds are called as isomorphs, and the phenomena is isomorphism. While we are discussing about the polymorphism, the compound showing different crystals, then crystals are, both the forms of the crystals are called as polymorphs of each other. Polymorphs. Here you can see the similarities and the dissimilarities. Before going to discuss this, I'm giving you the example. Here you can see calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is a compound, is that crystalline compound that form two types of crystals, trigonal, orthorhombic, in a different condition. So calcium chloride exists in two forms of crystals, trigonal and orthorhombic. That's why these two forms are called as polymorphs. Another example is for silver nitrate, AgNO3. AgNO3 is polymorph. This silver nitrate exists in two crystalline forms, that is rhombohedral and orthorhombic. Rhombohedral. We will discuss these 7 system of crystals in our next lecture. I'm just giving you the example that rhombohedral and orthorhombic. Rhombohedral and orthorhombic. So silver nitrate exists in these two crystalline forms. These forms are called as polymorphs of each other. So what is the similarity and dissimilarity between polymorphs? Polymorphs show same chemical properties because compound is same. Calcium carbonate is in the form of trigonal or is in the form of orthorhombic, remains the calcium carbonate, so that's why having same chemical property. But the dissimilarity between shape, because crystals having different shape and different physical properties because they are physically different. Next property is allotropy. Allotropy you can consider it same like polymorphism, but this allotropy property is used for elements. In isomorphism, you observe that compounds and elements both are showing the isomorphism, but polymorphism is specified for compounds and allotropy is specified for elements. While you are discussing that the elements is existing in more than one crystalline form, then you have to say it's allotropy. It's allotropy. What is allotropy? Elements showing different crystalline shape is basically the allotropy. Here you can see carbon, graphite, diamond, buckyballs. This carbon exists in different crystalline form, different forms. Graphite is a different form, diamond different, and buckyball. Graphite is hexagonal. Diamond is face-centered cube. We will discuss in our next lecture what is face-centered, what is body-centered, and what is simple center. And buckyballs are pentagonal, hexagonal. So allotropes is basically the form of element, crystalline form of elements, different crystalline forms of elements. So carbon exists in 3 different forms. That's why these are called as allotropes of each other. Allotropes show different chemical properties, same chemical properties as polymorphs. While you are reacting this carbon as it is in a graphite, diamond, or buckyball, when it will show combustion, it will form carbon dioxide. So allotropes having same chemical properties. Next thing is polymorphs having different physical properties, and here you can see allotropes also having different physical properties. Graphite is a conductor, as we know, diamond is insulator, and buckyballs are semiconductors. So these 3 allotropes having different physical properties and same chemical properties. While you are doing combustion for graphite, diamond, and buckyball, they will form carbon dioxide. So chemical properties are similar. The different is physical properties. Last one is transition temperature. It is very important to discuss the transition temperature to better understand the phenomena of isomorphism, polymorphism, and allotropy. If there is no transition atom, then different polymorphs do not exist, then different allotropes do not exist, and different isomorphs do not exist. Transition temperature is basically that temperature at which 2 crystalline forms of the same substance can coexist in dynamic with each other. Different forms of crystals, although isomorphs, although they are polymorphs, although they are allotropes, their temperature must be in dynamic equilibrium, must be coexist in equilibrium, and that transition temperature always be lower than their melting point. If temperature is higher than melting point, then they will not remain in a solid form, they will change into liquid. So if you want to keep them exist in a solid form, maintenance of transition temperature is very important. Here you can see the example: sulfur, rhombic sulfur, and monoclinic sulfur. Rhombic sulfur and monoclinic sulfur are 2 forms of crystals of sulfur. They exist in this temperature. This temperature is called as transition temperature. When you are increasing temperature from 95.5 degrees Celsius, then rhombic sulfur will convert into monoclinic sulfur. And when you are reducing this temperature from 95.5 degrees Celsius, then monoclinic sulfur will convert into rhombic sulfur. This temperature is called as transition temperature. Different isomorphs, different polymorphs, different isotopes having specific transition temperatures. While you are changing the transition temperature, one polymorph change into another polymorph, one isomorph change into another isomorph, one allotrope change into another allotrope. Another example is gray tin that having a gray color and having cubic crystal, and tin that having a white color and tetragonal crystalline form having temperature that is 13.2 degrees Celsius. This is the transition temperature for tin. And there are many examples that are in your book. You can observe that that is potassium nitrate example orthorhombic and rhombohedral crystals. The temperature is 128 degrees Celsius. So these are basically the very important properties of crystalline solid. And crystalline solid